I recently started with the etching process on Perspex. Um, I posted some of the results on internet, um, and a few people asked me about the whole process. So I decided to start at a point and explain it all on a video. The traditional process of etching was made on copper plate, such as these, a nice thick plate of copper, where you etched through wax onto the copper so that you can make multiple prints. It was early stages of bookmaking that involved this process. Since I don't make large series of prints, I decided to start off again after about 11 years by just using Perspex. The Perspex is softer, it's a bit easier to draw on. You can't make as many copies of it, but an interesting process, totally different from the copper plate etching. So first you get yourself a nice piece of Perspex. I rounded off the corners so that it doesn't cut the paper in the printing process, which I will explain later on. And the first step then is to remove the protective layer of plastic from the Perspex. It is quite difficult to see your sketch on a transparent little plate like this. So what I do is just to stain it. I put a bit of acrylic PVA paint on it just to make it opaque so that I can see where I am drawing. I think if you want to trace a picture, it's easier to put this on your picture and just trace it, but that is not the kind of process that I like doing. So let's start off by putting some paint on our Perspex sheet and allow it to dry properly. The next step in the process is to take your paper. You can use any good quality paper, about a 160 to a 300 gram paper, and wet the paper. Traditionally it's said to use paper with at least a 50% cotton content, and then to rinse the paper 3 times in a row and get it nice and moist. Since I'm often called away from where I'm busy with the etching and the paper tends to dry, what I do is I wet it properly once and then I pack it in plain plastic covering so that the water can seep through and make it through all over. The reason for this is so that your paper can bend and take on the form of the copper plate, or the Perspex in my case, as well as to move into the grooves that you are going to form to do the etching with. Wet your paper properly and put them away for a few hours afterwards. There's a Perspex plate, nicely dried in the sun. The next step is to take a sharp object. This is a burin for normal etching, but you use this to scratch your pattern or your picture onto your Perspex plate. And you just make a strong line as to make a plate. It makes a lovely noise, which can give everybody some joy as well. And from there you just continue and finish your whole sketch. You can see the idea I'm getting to with the lines there that will hold the ink. And there I've completed the first part of my sketch, made it very simple, just for illustration's sake. The next step is to put it in hot water. It will dissolve the paint, and the paint will come off perfectly. There is our finished product for now. So the next step is to, sorry about the noise, the next step is to ink up our plate. This is Charbonnel etching ink, and what I do is just to spread ink all over your etching plate. You do not need a lot of it. I use gloves just to protect my hands from staining. You can do it bare-handed, it does come off. So basically I put ink on the whole process, on the whole plate, and then with a clean rag you just push it into the little crevices and scratches that you have made. I know exactly where the part I want to etch is. I'm going to have a white background, so I'm not too worried about putting too much ink on the rest of the plate. After you spread it out, you can start removing excess of ink, working in all directions so that you, in the process, also work ink into every little scratch that you've made. I'm hurrying along the process a bit, but then you wipe off your excess ink with a cleaner part of the rag. And it depends on the effect you want to have, whether you either want to polish off all extra ink. I like to have a bit of staining on the plate just to make it look like an etching and not like a sketch. And that means you can vary the intensity of your outcome of every print as well. And slowly, as you work, you can see the picture coming out. There we go. And the next step would be the magic part, and that is to print your etch. Here is my etching press. This is a wonderful toy that I've used many times. I use it for both my litho and copper plate, as well as with the perspex etching that we're doing now. I've got two layers of felt here. The pink one on the bottom is thinner, the thicker one on top. That allows the pressure that the roller will cause to put even pressure on your plate and paper that you want to press. So first I position my etch on a piece of paper or cardboard on the press, so that you know exactly how it will come out. Next step there is to put your damp layer of, that one is marked, sorry. get a nice clean piece of paper, position it over your etch plate, cover it up with a felt, and then you can start. You can feel my pressure's not enough. When your etch plate thickness vary, you need to adjust the pressure you put on it as well. Still not quite satisfied. Actually, I've done this beforehand. There you can feel the pressure going through. And then the magic part, opening up, lifting and revealing what your picture would look like.